Hello people, I'm the Real Comic Book Gamer. Today we're going to be talking about Batman Last Night on Earth, Book 3. If you missed my other video on this, I did this a couple months ago where I talked about the first two issues of Batman Last Night on Earth. Make sure to go check that out, or then make sure you've read the first two issues. Either one works, so that way you know what's going on here and what we're going to be talking about today. But this is an Elseworld story by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo that sort of wraps up their New 52 Batman run. This is how they would have liked to do it if they had complete freedom. They were able to completely wrap it up. This is how they would have done it. At least that's what Scott Snyder said. So this is the whole exclamation point on Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman. But before we get into that, we need to talk about today's sponsor. The sponsor of today's video is Raid Shadow Legends. What? You never played Raid Shadow Legends? You know it's fun, right? Even my cat loves Raid Shadow Legends, and he doesn't like anything besides food. Fat bastard. Raid Shadow Legends is a high-quality turn-based RPG with fun gameplay and top-notch voice acting. I honestly love the presentation of voice acting in this game.
Once revered as a pillar of justice, King Teba had imposed crushing taxes to finance his war with his former ally, bringing desolation and ruin upon his own people.
Yeah, down with taxes! The game features over 400 highly customizable champions you can play as, like this guy. I wish I had a goatee like that. The game is free to play on both Android and iOS, and the game is now on PC, which is how I prefer to play it. My thumbs don't work good when it comes to mobile games. You can download the game using my link in the description and you'll get 50,000 silver and an epic champion. So go check out Raid Shadow Legends, and a big thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Now back to Batman Last Night on Earth. So the book opens up with the flashbacks that we've seen before of Joe Chill's son. So in the first two issues, there's that whole thing where that kid that showed up in Crime Alley that was dead, and no one knew what was going on with that. Batman was all confused. Well, in this issue, we find out that Batman did some digging. And again, this is a flashback to way before the events of this book. So Batman finds out that the kid that was left in Crime Alley is Joe Chill's son, and he also finds out that the kid died from an operation that was performed by Thomas Wayne, except Thomas Wayne was drunk, and it was like a routine normal operation, but he was drunk and he screwed it up, and because of that, the Waynes went and they sent some money to the dead kid's mom, like, hey, you know, be some hush-hush about this, don't let anyone know, because, you know, this could kind of ruin our whole family name and legacy and everything. This could ruin us if people find out that that Thomas Wayne, you know, this great philanthropist doctor, ended up killing a kid because he was drunk during surgery. So that doesn't look good on them. So they sent money to that, and this is what Batman tells Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon's like, who knows if any of that's true? And Batman's like, I checked everything out, it's true. So this obviously sets up a motive for Joe Chill to kill the Waynes because they killed his son. But they covered it up to make it look like, oh, you know, that's not what happened, and it now looks like, oh, this is a great atrocity that happened to the Waynes. They were killed instead of it being an act of revenge for something terrible that Thomas Wayne did. But, again, we don't know if this actually happened as of this moment, but Batman seems to be very convinced that this actually happened, and he's very sad about his parents. But then we go back to the modern day, and we see Bruce in Gotham with the Bat family, like how it ended at the end of issue 2, and he's there with Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, their kid. Yes, Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon have a kid in this universe named Bryce, and it's a girl. And then you also have Commissioner Gordon, who is now blind. Wonder Woman is there. Duke's there. There's a lot of people there in the Batcave. They informed them that Tim died not too long ago. They tried to storm Wayne Tower, and Tim ended up dying. But prior to him dying, he had been paralyzed before that, and he created this mech suit that he used because he was paralyzed, and the suit allowed him his brain to control it, so that way he could still be useful. But he just died. It's also revealed that Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son, died on the day that Bruce died, that first day when everything went wrong and everyone chose Doom over Justice, and when they stormed the Hall of Justice and Batman died, Damian died alongside him that day. So that's kind of sad. It also turns out that Jason died and some others. There's a lot of the Bat family is dead. So we learn a lot of sad things have happened during this whole time. Also, Barbara acknowledges the Joker head, so that there goes my theory, where before, if you missed the other video, I talked about how I thought the Joker head was just Batman's imagination, because it doesn't make sense how Joker's head is just there living somehow, and two, no one ever acknowledged it in the first two books. Like, he went around with Wonder Woman and a bunch of other people, and no one was ever like, hey, that's Joker's head right there, you're Batman, this is kind of weird. No one acknowledged Joker, so I'm like, maybe this is something, especially because Joker's always talking as well. I was like, maybe this is some, I don't know, Fight Club type thing or something. It's all in his head. Nope, turns out it's not, because Barbara acknowledges Joker. It's like, dang it. There goes my theory. But anyways, the Bat family tell Batman, well, this young Batman, that they have theorized that Omega is just another young Bruce clone that somehow got corrupted, is now evil. And like we've learned in the other issue, his plan is to use the anti-life equation to control all of the planet. So he's been able to control Gotham because he has a way to put the signal of the anti-life equation all over Gotham, but now he has a way to boost it all over the world. And so the signal is grounded in Wayne Tower, but the amplifier for the signal is on Arkham Island. So they devise a plan. There's Wonder Woman and the Bat family go to Arkham Island to take out the amplifier, and then Bruce and Joker, who Joker is just a decapitated head right now, but he's using Tim Drake's robot suit, and so Bruce and Joker will go to Wayne Tower to go and take on Bruce. Also, Wayne Tower, the only way to get in there is with Bruce Wayne's DNA, so that's why Batman's going there, and to take on Batman and, you know, have that epic confrontation that we need for the final book. So Batman and Joker make it to Wayne Tower, they have some fights, and then they get captured by Omega. While tied up, Omega reveals to Bruce that he is the real Bruce Wayne. We see that this dude's been messed up. He didn't actually die on that day in the Hall of Justice. It turns out he was just beaten and broken, but he survived and came up with a plan to really save everyone. He then pulls a Palpatine and tells young Bruce that he's going to brainwash him and then release him so he can take down old Bruce and take his place. He literally is like, hey Bruce, when you're done being brainwashed, you're going to come up and you're going to destroy me and take my place. It's just straight up Palpatine is what old Bruce is right now. That's pretty much what he's doing here. So while he's tied up getting brainwashed, old Bruce, Omega, heads up to the roof to check on the signal, and Joker is sitting there bleeding out while young Bruce is tied up because old Bruce kicked the crap out of Joker. So he's sitting there dying from the beating that Omega put on him, and then we see that Joker tells Bruce that the case of the boy in Crime Alley that we learned throughout these 3 issues and everything that happened, he says that was actually his doing. Joker faked the documents and set everything up as a way to test Batman. He said, and I quote, "All I ever tried to do was challenge you. If you ever broke, you weren't worth it." And that shows how Joker is the sort of yin to Batman's yang, and the whole point of him is to test Batman to make him better. At least that's what Scott Snyder's Joker is. He's always there to test Batman, and that's one interpretation of Joker that we've seen many times. There's a bunch of different interpretations of Joker. Some people just see him as just psychotic nothingness, others always see him as just constantly trying to test Batman to make him better, and that's how Scott Snyder sees his Joker, and that's what he did here. He did that case where he messed with Batman's head, but he talked about how that case, as messed up as it was, did not change Batman at all. He just kept going and was stoic and continued going on. He says now this old Bruce is no longer Batman. He's like, this guy changed. He says, young Bruce, you're Batman. He gives actually a really cool long speech that I recommend you read if you check out the issue. It's a pretty cool speech. It's one of my favorite parts of the book, where Joker has this monologue to young Bruce talking about how the old Bruce was corrupted and new Bruce is the actual Batman, and that's how he sees him. But then young Bruce is able to escape because he hit a penny in his teeth, so that makes him able to escape. I don't know, Batman things. But he escapes, heads to the roof, and he fights Omega. And during the fight, Omega tells Bruce some horror stories of what happened to him when he opened the doors of the Hall of Justice, like how father and son were deciding what pieces to cut off of him. Because, again, this was when humanity went crazy and chose doom over justice. It was just like, we're cool with being evil now. So they went and did a lot of bad things, including killing Bruce's son and torturing him by cutting pieces off of his body. So Bruce saw the absolute worst humanity had to offer, and they also killed his son. I kind of wish we would have gotten a little more about Bruce's downfall, because it seems kind of weird. This is one of the weaker parts of the book, in my opinion, because Bruce has been through so much trauma already that just adding a little bit more to me wouldn't make him go full-on dictator mode, where it's like, okay, I'm going to control everyone. That's how we end things now. That's one of the faults of this book, in my opinion, is I wish they would have gone a little more and been like, okay, here's some things that happened to him, instead of just, oh, here's Bruce talking about how a father and son cut some pieces of flesh on him. It's like he's been through so much worse. I don't think that would tip the scales to where he'd go full dictator mode. But nevertheless, I think Damian Wayne's death was a nice touch to it, but they never had Bruce mention Damian. I wish they would have had that. I wish they would have had Bruce be upset about his son dying, like his actual blood dying. I wish that would have been a bit more of a point, but he doesn't really talk about that. He just talks about how, like, a father and son cut a piece off him, and like a little girl was like torturing him as well or something. But yeah, anyways, Bruce goes on and tells young Bruce about his plan. So Omega, to not make things complicated, Omega tells young Bruce about how his plan is to save everyone from themselves by just brainwashing them. It's sort of Injustice Superman-esque in terms of, you know, something bad happened with Injustice Superman where he thought he was fighting Doomsday but was actually pregnant Lois. He kills her, and then from then on he's like, everyone's too dangerous, they can't think for themselves, I need to go and just be a dictator and make sure nothing bad happens ever, but also I completely eliminate free will. That's what this Batman's doing. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure nothing bad happens ever, but I'm also eliminating free will. But young Bruce tells old Bruce, that, well, Omega, that you gotta let people have free will. They gotta be able to make that choice. You can't control them. And then young Bruce kills old Bruce, and that's the end of him. And we also saw during this that Wonder Woman and the Bat Family were fighting a bunch of Batman villains on Arkham Island, and they also encountered Martian Manhunter, who was being used to boost the signal, but they're able to do everything correctly, and they win. And once young Bruce kills old Bruce, we get a time skip. We don't know how far exactly, but we see everyone in their old superhero costumes besides Batman, who's in a new one, and they're sitting there waiting. Even Joker's there in his Robin mech suit, so he's like a mainstay now. He's a Robin. And we see they're waiting for something, and we see what they're waiting for is the rocket that Baby Kal-El comes in, which is a throwback to what happened earlier where we saw Lex Luthor was trying to bring a Superman from an alternate universe, because in the beginning of all this, when all this happened, Superman was killed because everyone chose Doom, and that chose like Kryptonite's shards to come up and kill Superman. So Superman's been dead before all this whole corruption happened, and Lex Luthor tried his best to bring a new Superman in, but he couldn't quite get it right. So I guess Batman was able to figure it out, which doesn't make sense because Lex Luthor's the smartest guy on the planet, but whatever. You know, Jeff Johns just said that he's the smartest guy in DC Universe. Who cares? I guess it's Batman, Corey Snyder. Anyways, he's able to bring, or maybe it's because Lex's brain was so broken after everything that happened. But anyways, Bruce is able to bring a Kal-El from another universe into this universe, so that's sort of the beginning of hope for this universe. They defeated the bad guy, and now Superman's here. A new beginning. Sort of like Doomsday Clock at the end, ish, where you have the guy that Jonathan created, well, that Dr. Manhattan created, that's a sort of Superman for the Watchmen universe. So that's kind of interesting how they both sort of end with a new hope being a Superman-esque character. That's kind of cool. But yeah, that's the end of it. I kind of feel bad for that other universe because they won't have a Superman now, but that's the end of the book. I would say issue 3 was definitely the weakest of all 3 issues. It still wasn't bad, but it was not the ending I wanted necessarily, because I felt like the first 2 issues were so good of last night. I loved them. Then issue 3, again, not bad. It's like 7 out of 10 territory if I had to rate it, but it's not like amazing, must-read, best thing ever. To the first 2 issues, like, you need to be reading this if you're a Batman fan. To this, it's like, obviously if you read the first 2 issues, you gotta read the conclusion, but it wasn't the best, and there were some things I wish they would explain more, like, again, Bruce is turning, and also, like, he has Darkseid's head on a stick. Like, how did he defeat Darkseid? There's a bunch of other powerful people we saw that he defeated, and it's like, how did he do that? Yeah, don't give me the because he's Batman. Like, I'd love to see that, but yeah, sadly there's only 3 issues. So that's all we got. But anyways, yeah, again, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, so please click the link in the description down below if you're interested in that game, or if you want to support the channel. It also helps me out. So yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments down below if you read this book, if you read Batman Lost on Earth. What are your thoughts on it? I really want to know your guys' thoughts on the conclusion, because I really love the first 2 issues, but the 3rd issue was not bad, but not great. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.